Hi guys, Paul here from Technos. So I bought an Alienware X17 R2, and after some testing and such, I found that my memory was not performing up to expectation. I'm getting 100 nanosecond latency, where average is between 40 and 50. And the memory that I have should be roughly 30. Um, I'm getting 100 nanosecond latency with my RAM. I am using DDR5 2800, PC 3800, 38,400, and it's one X16. I have two 16 gigs for a total 32. I messaged Dell about it. I'm a I've also been a DCSE for a decade now. I called Dell about it, and I let them know I was having an issue, and I tried to explain to them what was going on, and they told me that I probably have a motherboard problem or a DIMM slot problem. Well, no. Okay, so you can take the computer boots with both sticks in the computer. If you take the stick out of DIMM B, it doesn't boot. If you take a stick out of DIMM A, it doesn't boot. If you swap them, it doesn't boot. If you try to put either one in either slot individually, it does not boot. You have to have them in the particular order that they're in. Hint one, that's the RAM chips to me. Not that they're bad, but that they weren't tested with the motherboard software, the firmware, and the controller driver. Now I've ran Windows memory test. It said no problems. So currently I am booted into memtest. Memtest shows me the latency at 26.06 nanoseconds. So far, as you can see, I am on pass 1 of 4 at only 58%. So I'm running some tests now, and we're going to see what's going on. But Dell wants to tell me that it's probably a motherboard or DIMM slot problem. It's not a motherboard or DIMM slot problem. Otherwise, why is it reading all of the RAM? Right there, PC5 38,400, DDR5 4800 megahertz. I do get the 4800 megahertz, but I also get 100 nanosecond latency, which is just utterly ridiculous. 100 nanoseconds from reading block to block to block to block to block. That's just like, what? That's insanely high. We haven't been that slow since DDR1 or 2. And DDR4 and DDR5's latency didn't change at all. DDR4 and DDR5 are supposed to have the same latency. Just different bus and clock speeds. So far, no errors. We are using 64-bit address mode. It's only using 16. It's using 14 physical cores and 2 logical cores, as opposed to all 6 logical cores paired with the 14 physical cores. Yeah, we can see there, memory 31.6 gigs, 19.5 gigabits per second. So you tell me, you have 2 sticks of RAM, each one is in a slot, your computer boots, you swap them, it doesn't boot. You try the sticks individually in DIMM slot A and DIMM slot B, and in no way can you get either slot to boot from either one of the sticks of RAM. You can boot into Windows just fine. Everything seems to run fine, but you notice a little bit of lag here and there playing games. And benchmarking, you notice that you are getting ultra low latency comparatively. I mean, 200% increased latency from average. I guess it's, yeah, 100% increased latency from average. Decrease, I should say, latency. The latency is decreased because it's taking longer. My apologies. So, yeah, you tell me. Is that the motherboard? Is that the DIMM slots? Is that the RAM? Or is that the firmware? And or controller driver? Because it won't boot with the sticks individually, I'm going to say that it is a RAM motherboard pairing problem. Not that the sticks are bad, not that the motherboard is bad, but that they just don't play well together, and that Dell failed to catch this in quality control of the builds of these machines when they're repairing the hardware. You tell me. And I'll let you know about these results.